road trip. Yesterday was an 11-hour drive. It was 11 hours to get down there. You can tell I'm not awake yet, and it's like the afternoon. Yeah. I don't know if I can make a video today. I don't know, because I want it to be good, but I'm like burnt, and I had a plan. I did have a plan, and that's not that much, that much work. It was a good plan. I got a plan. Hey everybody, Joe Kelly here. Welcome to the channel. Like I said, I was traveling this week, and I was concerned I was not going to be able to put together a good video for you guys because I'm not comfortable vlogging yet. So I had planned ahead to do this Ask Me Anything, the first official Ask Me Anything of this channel. And I'm excited. I'm excited to get into your questions. I put it out on socials, and Instagram and Twitter and here on YouTube, and you guys did not disappoint. There's a lot of great questions and a couple of curious questions from somebody who shall remain nameless at this time. But you know who you are. So, without further ado, question time. Chef Gambino asks, what are your top 3 characters that you enjoyed writing, caveat, other than the ones that you created? Yeah, because if you don't say your own characters, maybe there's something wrong. It's a pretty easy list, actually. Spider-Man, number 1. I love Spider-Man. I always will. I always have. Deadpool, cornerstone of my career. Love doing the comedy. Love doing the dark stuff. And I'm very grateful that I got to do that book. And then number 3 is kind of a tie. One of my favorite characters to write was actually kind of obscure, but it was Major Disaster. Major Disaster was such like a literal disaster, and we got to take him into a really interesting direction in The Elite. I love writing that character because he was so broken and messed up. Writing Wonder Woman is like so cool. I love Wonder Woman. Batman can be really fun, obviously. My father was a detective, so it's really fun to inject some of what I learned from him about crime into my Batman. And, and then I have just favorite characters, like the Spectre is a character I've always wanted to write because I love horror comics, and he's so cool. I love the Spectre. So, yeah, those are the 3 I think I had the most fun writing. On Instagram, Jason Tsewich asks, have you ever come up with an idea or a character that you liked concept-wise but had trouble fleshing it or them out? All the time. And the trick of that is to throw down all of your ideas right up top. This is what I do. Some character, some concept that I really dig, I put down as many ideas as I can. I take a step back, I give it a little bit of breathing room, and then I come back to it. And if there's something really still there, then I start digging in. And for me, this is a question of craft, right? Like, you could have a great idea, but if you don't have story structure to hang it on or a sense of how you build a long story, it's just an idea. So I start digging into the things, the toolbox that I have to flesh a character out, flesh a concept out. And if it hits certain criteria for me, like, is it satisfying? Does it feel new? Does it feel fresh for me personally? Do I have something to say? Then I pursue it. But if it's just kind of like a cool idea and I don't have anything new to add, sometimes I just let them go. But I will say that work is never wasted, because sometimes a character sits in the back of your brain or in the drawer or in the virtual, on the virtual bookshelf, and you come up with a different project where that character is really well suited or unexpected. So don't be discouraged because you kind of half bake an idea and it doesn't come to fruition. Just move on to the next idea. Your brain will do some background processing, and if it's worth coming back to, you'll come back to it.
What was your favorite Volkswagen to cruise around your hometown in on your way to Puddles?
The Volkswagen Vanagon was my favorite vehicle. I did also drive a Volkswagen Super Beetle, but the Vanagon, priceless. So this one came from Twitter, J.A. Rivera 83. I find myself editing stuff while I write it. Sometimes I wonder if I should just let the ideas flow and worry about tidying it up later. Everyone's process is different, but I wanted to know your thoughts on this. Do you constantly make adjustments or do you just let it flow? That's a great question. And I know you, and I know that you are working very hard on your writing, so keep it up. If I'm in a first draft or a rough draft or just brainstorming, I just try to word vomit on the page, like just get it all out as quickly and as with much energy and kind of passion as I can muster as the thoughts are coming to me. I don't self-edit. I don't care if there's spelling mistakes. I just try to write the thing as quickly as possible because, as I've said before, you can fix a broken page, you cannot fix a blank page, right? And it's more important to get those ideas down than it is for them to be perfect because we can always go back and fix it. Then when I'm in the midst of writing a script, I certainly can be hooked on a scene where I feel like, oh, I could do a little better with the dialogue, or this joke isn't landing. Or in a comic, for example, I write the scene sort of as I described, and then I realize it's too many panels for a spread, so I need to adjust in that case. My recommendation is do your rough draft, go from beginning to end, get it all on the page, and then go back and do your fine tuning later. Save the edits for later. It's a different part of your brain that's working also. There's this bifurcation that we have of our creative self and our editorial self. And it's really better in the long run if you keep those separate for as much as possible. Because you want your creative self to be like blue sky, anything is possible, blah, blah, just play. You just want to have fun and write this stuff. Or if you're not a writer, create, draw, sketch, any of that stuff. But then your editorial side comes in, and that's the part that's going, does this make sense? Does it hang on 3x structure? Are these characters original? Does this dialogue sound natural, or is it funny? Could this be better? Blah, blah, blah. All that stuff, that should come later because you don't want that inner critic to crush the creative, playful side of you while you're in the midst of cooking up something cool. So try to keep them separate. From one Levi Church, whose work inspired you the most to become a writer? It's hard to pinpoint one person, but if I was going to pick, not a writer, Robin Williams. Robin Williams, when I was growing up, I thought was one of the funniest people I'd ever seen. Everything he did, I would just copy and do the next day at school. And you would think that that would sort of angle me towards being a performer. But really what it did was help enhance my sense of being creative. Terry Gilliam, top of the list, I think. The Fisher King is one of my favorite movies of all times. And of course, his work prior to Fisher King, but Fisher King really nailed it home for me. And Fisher King was written by Richard LaGravenese, whose writing really blew my mind, both in Fisher King and then subsequent work of his. The Coen brothers, by a long shot. The dialogue of Barton Fink and Miller's Crossing, showed me that certain types of writing were possible. In comics, I would have to say, well, when I was young, Chris Claremont, The New Mutants is the comic that got me into comics. So, hats off to Mr. Claremont. So those are some of my creative idols that inspired me to get into writing.
Sir, over here. Onion loaf or zucchini loaf?
Zucchini loaf. Why do you even ask this? Alrighty, and from right here on the channel, from Sam Adams, could you please address where ideas come from? I have to flip a switch in my brain and go about asking why and what if. Also, it's difficult to spawn an original idea. It's easier to turn tropes upside down and inside out, and original execution of a pre-existing story comes easier. So where do ideas come from? I have often said that writers are vultures. We literally pick apart everybody and everything we know. For me, I get ideas from real life, real people, dreams. I can't tell you how many characters I based on real people, much to my wife's chagrin. She stopped reading my comics because there were a couple times where characters would say something that were direct quotes from her, and I think she didn't really want to find out about it. Occasionally, I just get a random thought image that comes to my brain, and I have no clue what it means, but I write it down and meditate on it, and not like literal like meditation, but just I let it stew. Your subconscious brain is always looking for connections. And ultimately, that's what these ideas are. That's what creative ideas are. We're making connections that are unexpected and novel. And when that happens and it lights a fire in us and it happens to coincide with something we're passionate about or a subject matter that we want to explore, that gives us the engine and the motivation to continue and pursue that story. Also, I know people who specifically collect news stories and science stories especially. And the science one is kind of interesting because you see movies and TV shows and even comics that have the same theme or the same subject matter. And very often you can pinpoint it towards, something hit the national recognition, the zeitgeist, and all these people thought that's going to be a cool idea. Parallel worlds, oh my God, like the many worlds theory, that's all we've got right now. And then, living in a simulation, what would that mean? There's just so many like sci-fi ideas that came from interesting breakthroughs or theories that were published in magazines and online. So that's another place to go. And then news stories. Sometimes you see something in the news or you hear about something and it's usually horrible and awful, but you can take that stuff and put it through the lens of your creativity and try to cook up something new. All right, also on Instagram, Creation Teen. How would you introduce a character's personality when they are in a situation? Excellent question. And the quick answer is action. Character is revealed through choice and action. So, for example, even if somebody makes a joke, and that's how you introduce them, you're like, I want this character to be funny. They chose to make a joke. Making the joke is the action, right? You can have a character who's completely silent in a scene, but whatever they do is interesting and telling. They choose to stand against a wall at a party instead of engaging with somebody they find attractive. Or they walk into a party, immediately grab a glass and toast everybody. Well, now I know this person is an extrovert. They like to be the center of attention. Maybe they're wild and crazy. Maybe they're showing off for somebody. I will find out through the choices they make. A lot of people, especially in the beginning, think it's dialogue. What you learn pretty quickly is that what a character says actually doesn't matter. It's what they do. Because somebody could be laughing and saying, I love you, as they're sticking a knife in another person, right? I do always go to the murder examples. I'm sorry, they're just very easy. How somebody says something also does reveal elements of their character. Do they speak honestly? Are they liars? Do they have double speak? But layered dialogue is something that's really important. I'm definitely going to do a video about dialogue. So what the words are don't matter as much as what the actions and choices are beneath that dialogue. Other things can certainly help too, like what they're wearing, the way they carry themselves. But again, these are just little affectations. They actually, what they do is they set up an audience expectation. So if you see somebody wearing a three-piece suit, they're going to immediately evoke a certain feeling in the audience. If you see somebody like the naked cowboy running around in a cowboy hat, underwear, and a guitar, that's going to evoke certain expectations in the audience. If the naked cowboy suddenly starts talking about theoretical physics and actually knows what they're doing, maybe that will create an interesting character for you. It certainly would reveal that this advanced physicist likes to be kind of naked and is a cowboy. Rambly example. So, action, choice, use all the superficial stuff to set up audience expectations, and then execute the character's personality through choice and action, either to undermine those expectations or reinforce them. So, hope that helps. Hey everybody, Future Joe here. Thank you so much for all these questions, and I hope that these answers have been good so far. But I gotta tell you, you guys came through so hard on these questions, and I like to ramble, as you can tell, that the amount of raw footage I had topped out at about an hour and 30 minutes. Nobody wants to hear me talk for an hour and a half, but I promise I will answer the rest of those questions soon. Even some of you-know-whose questions are going to get answered, unfortunately. You know who you are. But it'll be in the next video, or the next-ish video. I don't want to hit you all just with AMAs. But thank you again. Thank you for participating. If you see what you like, if you like what you see, let somebody know. Hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff. And we will be answering more questions about creativity, writing, comics, animation, etc. in the future. So thanks again, thanks for watching, and I will see you soon. Later.